Have you ever wondered if there's more to the Bible than what we've been taught? What if I told you there's a hidden text that claims to reveal secret details about creation, the lives of ancient patriarchs, and even God's laws? Details that most of the world has never seen. This mysterious book, known as the Book of Jubilees, offers a stunning account of the Genesis story, adding depth and cosmic significance that mainstream Christianity has largely ignored. But here's the catch. This ancient text was banned, hidden away, and excluded from most versions of the Bible.
Why?
My biggest dream is to reach 1,000 subscribers, so I kindly ask you to subscribe to the channel, and together we can spread the word of God even further to those who need it. Today, we're going to explore the secrets of the Book of Jubilees, sometimes called Little Genesis, as we uncover why its 50 chapters were deemed too controversial. We'll dive into its teachings on sacred time, cosmic order, and the angelic beings that govern the universe. We'll see how it introduces a solar calendar that supposedly aligns us with God's divine plan, a calendar almost completely abandoned by the world today. And we'll uncover its warnings about the spiritual chaos that unfolds when humanity steps out of alignment with God's intended order. The Book of Jubilees begins by reshaping the creation story we know from Genesis, suggesting that God didn't just create life on earth. He established a divine structure to time itself. This book introduces the idea of sacred time, an ancient calendar of 364 days designed to keep humanity in sync with the cosmos. According to Jubilees, this sacred calendar isn't just about counting days or marking seasons. It's about living in harmony with God's will, something the world has forgotten. But the mysteries don't end with the calendar. Jubilees goes on to reveal that angels were created even before the earth, with duties assigned by God Himself to watch over creation, maintain the seasons, and safeguard the sacred order. The book claims these angels weren't just passive observers. They played an active role in teaching humanity the laws of holiness, sacrifice, and purity, guiding us to live in alignment with the heavenly order. If all of this is true, then why was this book hidden from us? Could it be that the truths contained within were considered too powerful, or perhaps too unsettling, for the early church? And what might we gain today by revisiting these lost teachings? So, sit tight as we uncover the forbidden knowledge of the Book of Jubilees, a text that might just change the way we view time, spirituality, and our own place in the cosmos. The Book of Jubilees begins with a bold claim that God didn't just create the world and all life within it, but also crafted a sacred structure of time itself. This sacred time is measured by a unique solar calendar, containing exactly 364 days each year, divided into 4 perfect seasons of 91 days. According to Jubilees, this divine calendar was designed to keep humanity in perfect alignment with God's cosmic order. But here's the thing, this sacred calendar, supposedly intended for all of humanity, was eventually replaced by the lunar calendar, leading humanity to fall out of sync with the divine rhythm. Imagine this, a world where holy days like the Sabbath and sacred festivals always fall on the same dates every year, without shifting or drifting through the seasons. The Book of Jubilees claims that this solar calendar ensures that every sacred observance is in its rightful place, fulfilling God's original design. Unlike the lunar calendar, which creates irregular months and shifts festival dates, the solar calendar brings a stable rhythm that supposedly mirrors the structure of the cosmos. This concept isn't just about marking time. It's a way of living in harmony with God's will. By following this divine calendar, humanity is thought to maintain a connection with the heavenly order, aligning our lives with God's eternal plan. In Jubilees, living by this sacred calendar is a way of honoring God's design, a practice largely abandoned in favor of other timekeeping methods. So why was this calendar replaced? The Book of Jubilees warns that the adoption of a lunar calendar, one that's followed by many ancient cultures, including the Israelites, disrupted the sacred order. By using a lunar cycle, humanity has unintentionally introduced spiritual disorder into their lives, moving further from the divine rhythm that God intended. This might seem like a small change, but Jubilees suggests that it has profound consequences, not only for individuals but for all creation. In fact, Jubilees goes as far as to call the use of the lunar calendar a form of disobedience, warning that such deviation leads to a loss of spiritual clarity. The book states that even the angels follow the solar calendar, as it aligns perfectly with God's creation. This detail gives us a sense that observing the correct calendar isn't just about tradition. It's a practice that brings humanity closer to divine truth, restoring our place in the cosmic order. But the calendar is only one aspect of what Jubilees describes as sacred time. The book places a powerful emphasis on the Sabbath, describing it as a cornerstone of this divine rhythm. According to Jubilees, the Sabbath was not only given to humanity but was also observed by the angels. In other words, the Sabbath isn't just a religious ritual. It's a cosmic principle, a day set apart since the beginning of creation to remind us of our connection to God's divine structure. This day of rest isn't only about physical restoration. It's about realigning ourselves spiritually, recognizing our place within the grand design. For Jubilees, the Sabbath represents the foundation of all sacred time, an eternal law that serves as a weekly reminder of God's presence in our lives and in the universe itself. Jubilees even introduces the concept of the Jubilee year, a cycle of 49 years marked by rest, renewal, and realignment. Every 49th year, the land is given a Sabbath of its own, a period of rest meant to restore creation and bring humanity back into harmony with God's order. This cycle is more than an agricultural practice. It's a reminder that everything, from the smallest seed to the greatest nation, is under God's command and that we are all part of a divine rhythm that sustains life itself. But with such a powerful emphasis on time, order, and alignment, Jubilees raises an important question. What happens when humanity abandons these principles? If living according to this sacred calendar brings peace and order, what kind of spiritual consequences might arise from ignoring it? The Book of Jubilees doesn't just describe a sacred calendar. It introduces us to the beings who guard and maintain this divine order. According to this ancient text, angels were not only created before humanity but were assigned specific responsibilities by God Himself. These angels oversee the movement of the stars, the change of the seasons, and the flow of time. They are depicted as active stewards of creation, ensuring that the world remains aligned with the cosmic plan established by God. Imagine this. While we go about our daily lives, these heavenly beings are at work, maintaining the delicate balance of the universe, ensuring that the sun rises, seasons transition, and the divine rhythm continues uninterrupted. In Jubilees, angels aren't just passive observers. They're participants in the very structure of existence, guardians of the cosmic laws set forth on what the book calls the heavenly tablets. These heavenly tablets are one of the most intriguing aspects of Jubilees. They are described as a kind of divine blueprint, a record that contains all of God's commandments and the laws that govern creation. According to the text, these laws were written at the dawn of time and were meant to be followed by both humanity and angels. The tablets represent more than a moral code. They symbolize the divine order that keeps the universe in harmony. Every commandment, every observance, is a link in this cosmic chain, and the angels are responsible for ensuring these laws are upheld. Jubilees portrays these angels as the ultimate keepers of time and order, each one assigned a role that contributes to the larger purpose of creation. But here's a surprising detail. According to the book, humanity's role in following the divine calendar and commandments is part of this cosmic harmony. When we observe the Sabbath or follow God's laws, we are joining the angels in their work, aligning ourselves with the same divine structure that they uphold. But what happens when humanity strays from this path? Jubilees warns that breaking away from the sacred rhythm doesn't just affect individuals. It disrupts the balance of the entire universe. According to this ancient text, when humanity ignores God's commandments, especially regarding the observance of time, it creates a ripple effect that disturbs both the natural and spiritual realms. This perspective redefines obedience as more than a personal choice. It's a commitment to cosmic stability. Jubilees introduces a fascinating theme here, that the universe is a finely tuned system, and even the smallest act of disobedience can lead to disorder. By failing to observe the sacred calendar or ignoring the Sabbath, humanity not only falls out of alignment with God's will but invites chaos into creation itself. It's a powerful message that highlights the interconnectedness of everything, from the angels who govern the heavens to each person's observance of divine law on earth. And while the angels are responsible for maintaining this order, they are also deeply invested in humanity's role within it. The Book of Jubilees emphasizes that the angels are watching, guiding, and sometimes even intervening to keep humanity on the right path. Their actions show that they are more than distant celestial beings. They are involved in our lives, working behind the scenes to bring us closer to God's original plan. But here's where things take an unexpected turn. Jubilees also reveals that not all angels remained faithful to this divine mission. It introduces the concept of fallen angels, beings who rebelled against God's order, leading to corruption and chaos on earth. These fallen angels and their actions play a significant role in the story of humanity, disrupting the harmony that the faithful angels strive to maintain. With these dark forces in the picture, humanity's journey becomes more than just a personal quest for righteousness. It transforms into a spiritual battle between divine order and cosmic rebellion, a struggle that will impact the destiny of all creation. But what led these angels to rebel? And what impact does their defiance have on humanity? The Book of Jubilees takes us deeper into a cosmic drama involving forces beyond human sight, the rebellion of the fallen angels. According to Jubilees, not all angels remained faithful to God's divine order. Some angels, drawn by earthly desires, defied their assigned roles and descended to earth. This rebellion wasn't a simple act of disobedience. It was a cosmic event that led to corruption across creation, sparking a struggle between divine order and chaos. Jubilees describes how these fallen angels, upon coming to earth, took human women as their partners, resulting in the birth of the Nephilim, giant, powerful beings who were not part of God's original design. The Nephilim became symbols of disorder and violence, bringing havoc to the world. These offspring were not just physically imposing. They introduced forbidden knowledge to humanity, knowledge that God had never intended for humans to possess. This knowledge, instead of uplifting humanity, brought moral decay and a departure from God's commandments. Imagine a world where divine order is upended. The harmony established by God through the heavenly tablets is replaced by a corrupt version of wisdom, given not by faithful angels but by those who had rebelled. These fallen angels taught humanity secrets of warfare, magic, and manipulation, filling the earth with strife and sin. Jubilees presents this act of imparting forbidden knowledge as a fundamental breach of cosmic law, one that disrupts the sacred balance of creation. The presence of the Nephilim and the influence of these fallen angels led to a society in chaos, where violence and lawlessness became the norm. Humanity's innocence was corrupted, and people turned away from God's laws, embracing practices that opposed the divine commandments. This corruption wasn't merely an earthly problem. It was a cosmic disturbance that affected all realms, challenging the very structure of the universe that the faithful angels worked to preserve. God's response to this growing disorder was swift and decisive. According to Jubilees, He sent the great flood not only as a judgment upon humanity's sins, but as a means to cleanse the earth of the corruption brought by these fallen beings. The flood wasn't just about punishing humans for wrongdoing. It was a purification, a divine act to restore order to a world that had fallen into chaos. But even after the flood, the forces of darkness were not fully eradicated. Jubilees introduces a figure named Mastema, often associated with Satan, who emerges as a persistent adversary to God's plan. Mastema is depicted as the leader of the rebellious spirits and a constant source of temptation and evil in the world. His role goes beyond merely tempting humans. He actively seeks to disrupt God's intentions, manipulating events and encouraging humanity to stray from divine commandments. With Mastema at work, humanity's journey after the flood becomes a test of faith and obedience. The Book of Jubilees presents this cosmic battle as one that continues throughout history, with humanity constantly being pulled between the forces of order and chaos. Mastema's influence reveals that even though the world was cleansed, the struggle between good and evil persists, and humanity is left to navigate this path carefully, with angels watching and guiding those who remain faithful to God's commands. Jubilees shows us that, in a world affected by both divine and fallen forces, humanity's obedience to God's commandments becomes an act of spiritual warfare. Observing the Sabbath, following the sacred calendar, and upholding purity laws are not just religious practices. They are ways of resisting the influence of darkness and reclaiming alignment with God's cosmic order. This insight reframes our understanding of obedience, showing it as an essential part of the ongoing battle between divine purpose and the forces that seek to undermine it. As this struggle unfolds, the question remains: can humanity remain faithful, or will the forces of rebellion, led by Mastema, prevail? As the battle between divine order and chaos continues, the Book of Jubilees introduces us to one of the most pivotal figures in this cosmic story, Abraham. But the Abraham of Jubilees is not just a patriarch of faith. He is a warrior against idolatry, a defender of God's original commandments in a world that has strayed far from divine truth. In a striking departure from the traditional narrative, Jubilees describes Abraham as growing up in an environment steeped in idol worship. His father, Terah, practiced pagan rituals, surrounded by idols and false gods. Yet, even as a young man, Abraham was troubled by these practices, sensing that they were wrong. He saw through the emptiness of idolatry and felt a calling to seek the true God. According to Jubilees, Abraham didn't just reject idolatry, he actively rebelled against it. One of the book's most powerful scenes depicts a young Abraham destroying his father's idols, an act of defiance that symbolizes his commitment to the one true God. This act wasn't just a rebellious gesture, it was a profound spiritual statement. By rejecting the idols, Abraham was choosing to align himself with the divine order, setting himself apart as a vessel for God's purposes. This early act of defiance against idolatry prepares Abraham for his role as the chosen one through whom God's covenant would continue. In Jubilees, God doesn't simply call Abraham to leave his homeland. He chooses him to restore the laws that had been neglected or corrupted by previous generations. Jubilees reveals that even before the covenant of circumcision, Abraham was already observing divine commandments. He kept the Sabbath, practiced ritual purity, and offered sacrifices, following a code of conduct that would later become central to the Mosaic Law. But how did Abraham learn these commandments? Jubilees tells us that he was guided by angels who taught him the laws inscribed on the heavenly tablets. These divine beings played an essential role, ensuring that Abraham understood the commandments, the sacred calendar, and the principles of purity that aligned with God's cosmic design. Through angelic instruction, Abraham became not only a follower of God's laws but a custodian of them, someone who would pass these sacred teachings to his descendants. This role is monumental. In Jubilees, Abraham's obedience to these laws isn't simply about personal faith. It's part of a larger mission to restore divine order on earth. His adherence to the heavenly commandments demonstrates a commitment to the cosmic covenant established at creation, a covenant that his descendants would inherit and be expected to uphold. Yet, even for Abraham, obedience to God came with immense challenges. Jubilees offers a unique perspective on the famous test of faith, where God commands Abraham to sacrifice his son, Isaac. While the Genesis account focuses on Abraham's faith and obedience, Jubilees introduces a new element: the figure of Mastema, who, like Satan, seeks to disrupt the divine plan. According to Jubilees, it is Mastema who suggests this test to God, hoping to see Abraham fail, eager to exploit any sign of weakness or doubt. This added detail transforms the test into a cosmic trial, where Abraham's faith isn't just a personal matter but a battle in the ongoing war between good and evil. Mastema's involvement adds a layer of spiritual warfare, with Abraham's obedience representing a triumph over the forces that seek to lead humanity away from God. When Abraham demonstrates his unwavering faith, he not only proves his loyalty to God but also solidifies his place as the bearer of the covenant. With Abraham's faith confirmed, the covenant is sealed, establishing him as a pillar of righteousness and setting the foundation for God's chosen people. But the legacy of this covenant wasn't just about his personal relationship with God. It was about creating a lineage that would carry forward these divine laws, acting as guardians of the commandments and upholders of the sacred order. Abraham's life and obedience ensured that his descendants would inherit not only the promises of land and nationhood, but also the responsibility of living in alignment with God's eternal laws. And so, a question arises: could Abraham's descendants uphold this covenant? Would they faithfully follow the commandments, or would the forces of darkness, led by Mastema, eventually lead them astray? As the story unfolds, the Book of Jubilees introduces us to the next generation of Abraham's lineage, his twin grandsons, Jacob and Esau. In the traditional account, Jacob and Esau are presented as brothers in conflict, each with distinct destinies. But in Jubilees, their story carries profound spiritual implications, portraying their rivalry as part of a divine plan and a cosmic struggle between righteousness and rebellion. From the moment of their conception, Jubilees hints that God had distinct roles for each brother. Jacob, according to this ancient text, was chosen to inherit the divine covenant, the blessing of Abraham that carried both spiritual and earthly promises. But Esau, even in the womb, represented opposition to this sacred calling. While Jacob was destined to follow God's path, Esau embodied a rebellious spirit, one that would lead his descendants to stand against the chosen line of Israel. In Jubilees, the tension between Jacob and Esau is not simply sibling rivalry. It's a reflection of the larger cosmic battle introduced by the fallen angels. Jacob is portrayed as the keeper of divine law, the inheritor of God's commandments, while Esau's actions and choices symbolize a departure from this path, a willingness to abandon the sacred traditions that God established. This conflict between them is more than personal. It is part of a divine narrative, where Jacob's lineage is meant to uphold God's laws, and Esau's line becomes a symbol of opposition. Rebekah, their mother, is granted prophetic insight in Jubilees, understanding the different destinies that lie ahead for her sons. God reveals to her that Jacob will continue the line of righteousness, while Esau's descendants will turn against God's people. This knowledge places an immense burden on Rebekah, and she becomes a critical player in ensuring that Jacob receives the blessing and the birthright, fulfilling the divine plan. When Isaac prepares to bestow his blessing, Jubilees emphasizes the significance of this act. The blessing Isaac passes down isn't just a fatherly gift, it's the continuation of God's covenant with Abraham. By receiving the blessing, Jacob is entrusted with the laws inscribed on the heavenly tablets, the commandments regarding the Sabbath, the practices of purity, and the divine calendar. Jacob becomes not just the next patriarch but the custodian of a cosmic legacy, tasked with leading his descendants in the observance of God's commandments. Esau's reaction to losing the birthright and blessing, according to Jubilees, goes beyond anger. He becomes the progenitor of a rebellious lineage, one that would stand in opposition to the people of Israel throughout history. Esau's descendants, known as the Edomites, are portrayed as a nation that continually opposes the chosen people, embodying the forces that stand against divine order. This enmity isn't just about territorial disputes or family grievances. It's a manifestation of the spiritual conflict that started with the fallen angels and extends into human history. Jubilees describes Jacob's role as not only the father of the 12 tribes, but as a spiritual leader tasked with preserving God's commandments. Each of his 12 sons is destined to become the head of a tribe, and each tribe has a responsibility to uphold the divine laws. In this sense, Israel's role isn't merely to inherit the land promised to Abraham. It's to act as a living testament to God's commandments, ensuring that his laws are observed and passed down to future generations. This mission is monumental. According to Jubilees, the 12 tribes are chosen not just to receive blessings but to serve as guardians of God's law. Their adherence to the commandments is meant to keep them in alignment with the heavenly tablets, making them stewards of the divine order on earth. The nation of Israel, therefore, is not merely a group of tribes. It's a people set apart to uphold and preserve the cosmic covenant. But with this high calling comes great responsibility. The story of Jacob and Esau serves as a reminder that the path of righteousness is fraught with challenges, both from within and from external forces. The spiritual opposition embodied by Esau's lineage is a constant threat, a reminder that the forces of rebellion and disobedience are always present, seeking to lead God's people astray. The question that arises from Jubilees is a profound one. Will Jacob's descendants uphold the commandments and remain faithful to their divine mission, or will the influence of rebellion and disobedience eventually lead them away from their sacred calling? The story of Jacob continues through his 12 sons, each of whom becomes the ancestor of a tribe that forms the nation of Israel. But in the book of Jubilees, these 12 tribes aren't just ordinary family lines. They are set apart for a holy purpose. Each son's birth, life, and lineage play a critical role in preserving the commandments and upholding the divine order established by God from the beginning of creation. Jubilees introduces a remarkable concept. The births of Jacob's sons were not random events. Instead, they were aligned with God's divine calendar, fulfilling a cosmic design. Each son was born in a specific order, at a predetermined time, marking a continuation of God's plan for Israel to be a people in perfect alignment with his sacred structure. Their births, according to Jubilees, were written on the heavenly tablets, symbolizing that each tribe's destiny was woven into the very fabric of God's creation. The 12 sons, Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Dan, Naphtali, Gad, Asher, Issachar, Zebulun, Joseph, and Benjamin, are therefore more than just the founding fathers of Israel. Each tribe represents a unique aspect of God's cosmic plan, with responsibilities that extend beyond their earthly lives. They are entrusted with the role of preserving the divine laws passed down from Abraham, laws that had been safeguarded since the time of Adam. In this sense, the tribes aren't just inheritors of land. They are guardians of a spiritual legacy that links humanity to the eternal commandments. One of the key themes in Jubilees is the emphasis on the Sabbath and the observance of sacred time. Jacob's descendants are tasked with following the sacred calendar, ensuring that their lives and worship align with God's original design. This calendar, rooted in the 364-day solar cycle that Jubilees describes, includes observances like the Sabbath and festivals that mirror heavenly cycles. By following this calendar, the 12 tribes are meant to live in harmony with the cosmic order, setting an example for all humanity. The tribe of Levi, in particular, is given a special role. In Jubilees, Levi is chosen to lead the priesthood, a calling that is seen as part of the cosmic structure of worship. The Levites are set apart to offer sacrifices, perform rituals, and teach the divine commandments to the people of Israel. This priesthood, established through Levi, isn't just a temporary institution. It's part of the eternal order, meant to bridge the physical and spiritual realms. Levi's descendants, therefore, become not only leaders in worship but also mediators between humanity and God, ensuring that the people remain aligned with divine law. This divine responsibility highlights the unique role of Israel among the nations. According to Jubilees, the tribes of Israel are not merely another nation. They are a people set apart to uphold the commandments that were written on the heavenly tablets. Their observance of these laws, including the Sabbath, purity practices, and the sacred festivals, serves as a living testimony to the covenant established with Abraham. In this way, Israel's role is not just national, it's cosmic. The tribes are entrusted with preserving the divine order on earth, acting as a beacon of faithfulness in a world often swayed by the forces of rebellion and disorder. But the task isn't without challenges. The Book of Jubilees shows that Israel's journey is filled with trials, and their faithfulness is constantly tested by internal temptations and external threats. Each tribe carries the weight of responsibility not only to honor God in their lives, but also to resist the pull of idolatry, violence, and disobedience, the very forces that led humanity astray before the flood. Their journey is depicted as a spiritual battle, where upholding God's commandments is an act of devotion and resistance against the darkness that seeks to disrupt the divine plan. One of the most striking elements in Jubilees is the warning that if Israel fails to observe the divine commandments, they risk losing their place in God's plan. The text reminds us that the divine laws are eternal, meant to govern all of creation, and that breaking away from them leads to chaos, as seen in the past with the fallen angels and their offspring. Israel's commitment to the commandments isn't just for their benefit. It's essential for maintaining the balance of the entire cosmos. In the end, the tribes of Israel are portrayed as more than just the descendants of Jacob. They are a chosen people, a nation set apart to uphold the divine covenant and to act as the guardians of God's commandments. Their adherence to the sacred laws written on the heavenly tablets is presented as an act of cosmic significance, one that resonates throughout the spiritual and physical worlds. But as we know, the story of Israel is marked by moments of both faithfulness and failure. The question that Jubilees leaves us with is whether the tribes will remain true to their calling, or if they will fall prey to the same forces that once led humanity astray. Will they uphold the sacred covenant, or will they, too, be drawn into the cycle of rebellion? As we move forward in the Book of Jubilees, the story of Joseph takes center stage, offering new layers of meaning that go beyond the narrative in Genesis. Joseph's life is portrayed not only as a tale of perseverance and faith, but as an essential part of God's cosmic plan for the preservation and future of Israel. According to Jubilees, Joseph's journey from betrayal by his brothers to his rise in Egypt wasn't just a series of events. It was a divinely orchestrated path, preordained on the heavenly tablets to bring about the fulfillment of God's promises. Joseph's story begins with betrayal, as his jealous brothers sell him into slavery. Yet, Jubilees reframes this act as more than just a tragic family conflict. The text reveals that Joseph's betrayal was part of a larger cosmic purpose, written in the heavenly tablets, where every significant moment of his life had been set in place by God. This preordained path was not meant for Joseph alone, but was a crucial step in the unfolding of Israel's history, leading to their eventual establishment as a nation. While in Egypt, Joseph's rise to power isn't attributed merely to his wisdom or ability to interpret dreams. Jubilees suggests that Joseph's success was guided by angels, who ensured that he would fulfill his divine purpose. These angelic protectors watched over him during his trials and struggles, ensuring his safety and leading him to a position of influence where he could act as a savior for his family and ultimately for the nation of Israel. Joseph's journey, as portrayed in Jubilees, is woven with divine intention. His wisdom, his perseverance, and his faithfulness to God's commandments make him a conduit for God's will. By rising to power in Egypt, Joseph creates the circumstances that will allow Israel to survive a devastating famine, drawing his family to Egypt where they will eventually grow into a nation. In this sense, Joseph's life is more than an individual story. It's a chapter in God's cosmic plan, moving Israel one step closer to fulfilling their role as the chosen people. Jubilees adds a fascinating layer by connecting Joseph's story to the prophecy of the Exodus. The book reveals that Joseph knew about the future bondage of his people in Egypt, understanding that his family's time there would eventually lead to both enslavement and deliverance. In this way, Joseph becomes a prophetic figure, foretelling the hardships that Israel will face and the redemption that will follow. His life serves as a bridge between God's promises to Abraham and the eventual liberation of Israel, which would showcase God's power and establish them as his people. Before his death, Joseph entrusts his family with the knowledge of God's promise, reminding them that their journey in Egypt is temporary and that God will one day bring them back to the promised land. This foreshadowing of the Exodus marks Joseph's life as part of a divine timeline, a prophetic roadmap that has been set since the beginning. His final words echo through the generations, instilling hope and faith in God's covenant even as the people of Israel find themselves in bondage. Jubilees emphasizes that Joseph's rise and the subsequent enslavement of his descendants are not mere accidents of history, but events intricately woven into the fabric of God's plan. The text portrays Israel's time in Egypt as a necessary trial, one that would ultimately prepare them for the revelation of the Mosaic Law. This period of hardship and suffering is seen as a refining fire, a process that would bring them closer to God and prepare them to become a holy nation. But Israel's time in Egypt is more than just a test of endurance. Jubilees introduces a spiritual dimension to their enslavement, describing it as part of a cosmic battle between good and evil. Mastema, the dark figure associated with Satan, is portrayed as an active agent in hardening Pharaoh's heart and increasing the suffering of the Israelites. His influence over Egypt's rulers serves to test Israel's faithfulness, pushing them to the limits of their devotion. Jubilees presents Mastema's interference as an attempt to disrupt God's plan, challenging the people of Israel and encouraging them to abandon their faith. Yet, even as Mastema works to oppress them, God's purpose remains unshaken. This conflict between God's promises and the forces of darkness intensifies the narrative, showing that Israel's deliverance from Egypt is not merely a political liberation but a spiritual victory, a demonstration of God's ultimate power over all realms. The plagues of Egypt, as described in Jubilees, become symbolic acts of divine judgment, not only against Pharaoh but against the false gods of Egypt. Each plague serves as a strike against the spiritual forces that held Israel in bondage, revealing the impotence of Egypt's gods and the supreme power of the God of Israel. Through these plagues, God asserts his dominion over creation, breaking the chains of both physical and spiritual oppression. Finally, the timing of the Exodus itself is given profound significance in Jubilees. The book states that the exact day of Israel's deliverance was written on the heavenly tablets, a moment that had been set apart since the beginning of creation. This emphasizes that the Exodus was not a reaction to Israel's suffering but a preordained event, perfectly timed according to the divine calendar. The liberation of Israel, therefore, is seen as a fulfillment of cosmic order, a return to alignment with God's plan that had been foreseen from the start. As Israel marches out of Egypt, they step into a new identity, not just as a freed people, but as a nation chosen to uphold God's commandments. The journey to Sinai, where they would receive the Mosaic Law, is seen as the culmination of their divine calling, a moment where they would enter into the covenant that had been promised to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. But with this newfound freedom comes a critical question. Will Israel, having been delivered by God's hand, uphold the commandments and live according to the laws written on the heavenly tablets, or will they, too, be tempted to stray from the path? As the people of Israel emerge from Egypt, the book of Jubilees brings us to one of the most pivotal moments in their story, the giving of the law at Mount Sinai. But in Jubilees, the significance of this event goes beyond the traditional narrative of the Exodus. The law given to Moses isn't just a set of rules for one nation. It's a revelation of cosmic truth, a reaffirmation of eternal commandments that have been in place since the beginning of creation. According to Jubilees, the laws revealed at Sinai were not newly created for Israel. Instead, they were already written on the heavenly tablets, a divine record containing all of God's commandments, meant to guide humanity and the angels alike. These tablets serve as a cosmic blueprint, holding the laws that govern both the spiritual and physical realms. This perspective elevates the law beyond human tradition, framing it as an unchanging, eternal order that binds the entire universe together. When Moses receives the law, he is not just a leader but a vessel through which God reveals these ancient commandments to humanity. Jubilees emphasizes that Moses' role is to reintroduce laws that were first observed by the patriarchs, from Adam to Abraham. These commandments, including the Sabbath, dietary laws, and practices of purity, are portrayed as timeless principles that existed long before Sinai. Moses' task is to restore these laws to Israel, allowing them to live in harmony with the divine order. Jubilees also presents the Sabbath in a unique light, underscoring its cosmic significance. The Sabbath, according to this text, is not just a day of rest but a pillar of the divine structure that upholds creation. It is a law observed by angels, woven into the rhythm of the universe, and meant to be honored by humanity as a reminder of God's sovereignty. By keeping the Sabbath, Israel aligns itself with the heavenly order, joining in a universal act of worship that connects earth to the realms of heaven. The covenant at Sinai, therefore, is much more than a national agreement. It is a reaffirmation of Israel's role in God's cosmic plan. The commandments they receive are eternal, meant to guide them in every aspect of life, from their interactions with each other to their relationship with God. These laws aren't arbitrary. They reflect the principles that hold creation in balance. By following them, Israel would serve as a beacon of righteousness, a living testament to God's cosmic design. But there's another layer to this story. Jubilees reveals that the giving of the law was also a direct response to the spiritual forces that sought to disrupt God's plan. Mastema, the dark figure who had previously influenced Pharaoh, appears again, seeking to lead Israel astray. His presence symbolizes the ongoing battle between divine order and spiritual rebellion, a struggle that continues even as Israel stands at the foot of Sinai. Mastema's influence represents the persistent temptation to turn away from the commandments, to follow paths of disobedience that would pull Israel out of alignment with God's plan. The law, then, is not only a guide for righteous living but also a defense against the forces of chaos. By following the commandments, Israel can resist the influence of Mastema and his forces, protecting themselves from spiritual disorder. Each law, each observance, becomes an act of spiritual warfare, a means of standing firm in the face of temptation and remaining faithful to the cosmic order. Jubilees goes further to describe the law as binding not only on Israel but on all generations to come. These commandments, written on the heavenly tablets, are presented as eternal truths meant for all humanity, not just a single nation. They are universal principles that transcend time, calling each generation to live in alignment with God's design. This vision of the law as an everlasting covenant places a profound responsibility on Israel to preserve and pass down these commandments, ensuring that future generations remain connected to God's divine plan. But as we know, Israel's journey in the wilderness was marked by challenges and failures. Jubilees highlights these struggles, emphasizing that each failure to follow the commandments was a break in the cosmic covenant, a moment where the nation fell out of harmony with God's will. The text portrays the wilderness as a place of testing, where Israel's loyalty to the law is constantly challenged by their own desires and by the spiritual forces that seek to undermine them. One of the most powerful aspects of Jubilees is its vision of the law as a source of renewal. Every observance of the Sabbath, every festival celebrated according to the divine calendar, is an opportunity for Israel to realign with God, to remember their place in the grand design, and to reaffirm their commitment to the commandments. The law serves as a spiritual anchor, keeping them grounded in the cosmic order even in the midst of trials. As they continue their journey, the people of Israel carry the law with them, a tangible reminder of God's covenant and their role in His plan. Yet, the question remains, will they remain faithful to the commandments inscribed on the heavenly tablets, or will they, like so many before them, be swayed by the forces of rebellion? In the book of Jubilees, Israel's story is far from over. Their journey is a testament to the enduring struggle between divine purpose and the forces that seek to disrupt it. The law given at Sinai stands as both a gift and a challenge, a call to live in harmony with the eternal laws that govern all creation. And so, as Israel prepares to enter the Promised Land, they carry with them not only a new identity as a nation but the weight of cosmic responsibility. Their choices, their adherence to the law, will determine not only their future but the alignment of humanity with the divine order. As the story progresses, the Book of Jubilees expands its scope to describe Israel's heritage not only as a nation but as a people with a profound cosmic purpose. Israel's commitment to the divine commandments is seen as a thread that connects heaven and earth, linking them to the very foundations of creation. But Jubilees also reveals that this mission is accompanied by unseen allies, angels who play a critical role in guiding and protecting Israel, especially in times of spiritual trial and in the climactic vision of the end times. Throughout Israel's history, Jubilees portrays angels as ever-present helpers and defenders, assigned by God to watch over His people. They are guardians of the commandments, ensuring that Israel remains true to the laws written on the heavenly tablets. This angelic presence highlights the spiritual dimension of Israel's journey, showing that the nation's destiny is deeply intertwined with a cosmic order maintained by both earthly and heavenly forces. These angels are not only protectors but also teachers. According to Jubilees, they are responsible for imparting divine knowledge to humanity, guiding Israel to live according to God's commandments and offering insight into the mysteries of the universe. Their role emphasizes that the commandments Israel follows are not mere earthly rules but principles that resonate with the divine structure of creation. The angels act as mediators, bridging the gap between humanity and the divine, and helping Israel to understand their role within God's eternal plan. But as the story unfolds, Jubilees introduces a new dimension to the role of these angels, one that involves the end of days. The book paints a vivid picture of the end times, describing a period of judgment in which the forces of good and evil will be decisively separated. In this prophetic vision, the angels play a central role, carrying out God's judgment upon the nations and ensuring that His will is fulfilled both in heaven and on earth. In Jubilees, the end times are marked by a final battle between the forces of light, represented by God's angels, and the forces of darkness, led by Mastema, the prince of evil spirits. Mastema's presence throughout Israel's journey serves as a reminder of the spiritual warfare that has been at play since the rebellion of the fallen angels. His goal has always been to lead humanity away from God's commandments, to disrupt the divine order, and to bring chaos to creation. In the end times, this battle reaches its peak, as Mastema and his followers face the angels of God in a decisive confrontation. Jubilees describes how, in the final days, the righteous will be gathered by God's angels and separated from the wicked, who will face judgment. This judgment isn't simply a punishment. It's a restoration of divine order, a return to the harmony that existed before rebellion disrupted creation. The wicked, including Mastema and the forces of darkness, will be bound and cast into the abyss, symbolizing the ultimate defeat of evil. This act of binding and casting away represents a final purification, removing the sources of corruption from the cosmos. One of the most powerful elements in Jubilee's vision of the end times is the promise of a new age, a restored creation where God's laws are upheld and His presence dwells among the righteous. This messianic kingdom is described as a time of peace and justice, where the commandments are fully observed and humanity lives in alignment with the divine will. The laws written on the heavenly tablets are not only honored but embraced, inscribed upon the hearts of the righteous who remain faithful to God's covenant. In this restored kingdom, Jubilees envisions a world where the Sabbath, purity laws, and the sacred calendar are all observed in perfect harmony. The righteous are rewarded with eternal life, and the separation between heaven and earth is bridged, allowing God's presence to dwell with humanity. This new age is seen as the fulfillment of God's promises, the realization of His plan from the beginning of creation, a time when the forces of rebellion are finally subdued and the divine order reigns supreme. Jubilees presents this messianic kingdom not just as a future hope, but as the ultimate purpose of creation, a return to the state of harmony that God intended. In this vision, the righteous inherit the earth, living in a world where the commandments are no longer burdensome rules but a source of joy and communion with God. The angels continue their roles as stewards of this cosmic order, ensuring that the peace of the new age endures. For Israel, this vision of the end times serves as both a promise and a responsibility. By remaining faithful to the commandments, they prepare themselves for the day when God will gather His chosen people, separating them from the forces of darkness and bringing them into His eternal kingdom. Their obedience is not only a means of survival in a world of temptation, but a way of participating in God's cosmic plan, contributing to the ultimate triumph of righteousness over evil. As Jubilees closes, it leaves readers with a powerful message, that the commandments are more than laws. They are the very essence of the divine order, guiding humanity toward a future where heaven and earth are united. Israel's journey, its trials, and its covenant with God are all part of this grand narrative, a story that transcends time and invites each generation to live in alignment with the cosmic law. This prophetic vision challenges us to consider our place within God's plan. Are we, like the people of Israel, prepared to honor the commandments, to resist the forces of rebellion, and to strive for a life aligned with divine truth? The Book of Jubilees offers not only a window into ancient teachings, but a timeless call to live with purpose, faith, and fidelity to the eternal laws that govern both heaven and earth. And so, with this profound vision, the Book of Jubilees invites us to reflect on our role in the cosmic story, to seek alignment with God's will, and to look forward to the day when creation is restored, and the forces of darkness are forever defeated. As we come to the end of our journey through the Book of Jubilees, one thing becomes clear. This ancient text is more than a historical account or theological doctrine. It's a profound invitation to view life from a cosmic perspective, recognizing that each of us is part of God's eternal plan. Jubilees challenges us to go beyond the mundane, to see ourselves as players in a grand, divine story that spans generations and stretches across realms. In Jubilees, the commandments aren't simply rules to follow. They are links to the very fabric of creation, guiding us toward a life of alignment with God's eternal purpose. They connect us to the angels, to our ancestors, and to the vision of a restored world where righteousness and peace will prevail. Through its teachings, Jubilees encourages us to renew our commitment to live by God's law, to embrace the sacred rhythm of time, and to see each day as an opportunity to contribute to the ultimate harmony of creation. So, as we conclude, take a moment to reflect. How can you align your life more closely with this divine purpose? How might observing God's commandments in your own way bring you closer to this vision of peace and eternal joy? If you found this exploration of the Book of Jubilees meaningful, please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. Your support helps us bring more content like this to those seeking a deeper understanding of ancient wisdom and faith. Together, let's continue this journey of discovery, drawing closer to God's cosmic truth and sharing it with the world. Thank you for watching, and may this journey inspire you to live with purpose and peace.